to the Eternal Dawn channel. I am your captain, Straw Hat Lucas, and I'm joined today, of course, by my lovely, lovely, lovely crew. First up is my right-hand man, the historian, the man who knows all, the first mate of the Eternal Dawn, Kube of the Red Sea. How we doing today, Kube?
What up, what up? Hey man, listen, I'm ready to flip the script with this stream, guys. I'm excited, guys.
I like the
I hate him.
puns.
I hate him already.
Yeah, so do I. Next
good.
up is the one who steers the ship himself, our wise sage of the crew, the helmsman, Mr. Knack. How we doing today, Mr. Knack?
Doing grand. Ready to get into this. It's been a little bit of time since I've been on stream with y'all, and I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think there's a few cool ones to get into here.
Knack.
Oh, man.
Last and certainly not least, one of my closest friends, the man who whips up a great theory every time he cooks. It is the head chef of the Eternal Dawn, here to explain today's stream as well, Mr. Vexus, the lurking legend.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Vexus, the lurking legend, head cook of the Eternal Dawn. Y'all can just call me Vex. I'm super stoked. Happy break week. Hope you've all been doing all right. Please, no spoilers in the chat for 1152. Thank you. But we are going to be getting into some theory crafting, some speculating. We recently talked about in our chapter discussions that we think that the becoming of a monarch or a ruler in some aspect is part of Emu's prerequisites for what we think their power could be. We talked about it on multiple streams for a couple weeks now. So we were thinking, what would be the most interesting royal in One Piece to see flipped, and how would that all play out? So we're going to be each spitting some ideas that we've had, vibing with you guys in the chat. But yeah, let's get right into it. Who wants to go first? Who has a really interesting take on a royal that might get flipped?
Listen, I have one, but it's all based on conjecture and speculation. So like, I'm just going to be out the gate honest about that. But we saw this ruler at the Reverie, and he is the one who represents America in the story of One Piece. America. Hell yeah. That being Hamburg. He looks like Abraham Lincoln. Check it out, though. I think the importance of flipping Hamburg is because he comes from the country. I think it's Bollywood. Let me
Correct.
Yes, Ballywood Kingdom.
Yeah, Ballywood,
which is based on Hollywood, right? Now we don't know anything besides that. Hollywood is the entertainment capital of the country and overall the world, really, because a lot of entertainment.
Oh, wait.
Hollywood.
Hamburg is in the Foxy parts. It's Hamburger, the king.
Hamburger,
yes.
ham and
I forgot
burger.
my bad. Hamburger.
Yeah.
Who just looks like the grandpa to Foxy, right?
Yeah.
Could be where Foxy's from. But listen, I think controlling the entertainment capital of potentially the One Piece world here is such a Chad move by Emu to, implement ideas into the grander society.
You know what? You are spitting. You know why? You're talking about Abraham Lincoln. Don't forget, another inspiration for him is the American symbol of Uncle Tom. So it's perfect for Emu.
No! Wild!
What if we get
John
Wilkes D. Booth?
I'm just reading One Piece facts. No, that's an interesting one.
Hamburg.
He has like a fruit that just never mind. The rebel no me. Model 6 Emperor Tyrannus.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wild. We're starting out crazy today.
JFK's head just did that, guys.
We don't know enough about Hamburg or Bollywood necessarily, but I think this would be interesting because somebody was prolific enough to be invited into the Reverie, and of the I think they said 270 nations or something like that are affiliated with the world government. Only like the top 50 get invited to the Reverie. Not only was this guy able to be at the Reverie, he hosted the most recent Reverie that we saw post time skip. So he's kind of a big deal. We just don't really know enough about him, but
we don't. Yeah,
I think this could be interesting if we take what we know about Oda and America and just run away with it. This is hilarious.
Oh my god,
this is
a
hilarious.
kingdom full of Frankies! Let's go!
Oh my god. Cola stonks are about to be sky high.
Go sky high. But no, I really like the idea of it. Like I said, it's all speculation for me, but knowing Oda and the way he feels like you said, he does use a lot of American media influence in his stories. Like he loves Star Wars and things like that. So I could see that being an aspect that could come into play if we do get anything on Bollywood, like the entertainment industry aspect of it. Like maybe they're the ones who distribute TDs everywhere and stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel like of all of the kings that we saw in the Reverie,
he had the most
outside of the ones that we met like throughout the story naturally, of all of the Reverie specific monarchs, I feel like he's probably the most interesting just because he got kind of the most scenes. I mean, we saw Neptune and we saw like Mancheri and stuff like that, but like this is different, you know. This is like a Reverie specific king.
Nah, also tacos. I'm not going to bring him up in conversation of kings that need to be flipped or anything, but I think during the Reverie I was like, what's up with that guy? Why does he look like that?
Wild.
He's probably from Canada. Tacos is probably good.
Yeah,
famously Canadian cultural reference. Dak, did you have a monarch?
Dak appropriate your culture?
I definitely got a monarch, and I think this one is waiting to happen, and probably would take it with open arms, and that's Judge. I could see Judge absolutely accepting that deal. You make me mad with power, and I get to join you? Yeah, well, I'm in.
Hold on, though, because if this isn't a devil fruit thing, then they don't have the curse of the sea or whatever. They like the Saint Germain, the big ass snail. Can you imagine that like demon that flip?
Also, that's so interesting. Judge has a very interesting nickname, Garuda, which is a mythical beast. So what if he transformed into a Garuda? That's his thing.
Yeah. Well, check this out too. A little bit more evidence that Judge may get flipped by Emu. Do you guys know what the Tale of Saint Germain is? The name that ship comes from?
Like a fire?
No, he's an immortal man who lived throughout the centuries.
Dorian Gray over here.
Dorian Gray over here kind of said, no, yeah, he was like a French aristocrat. We just solved the One Piece, yeah. Just like last stream, Dak. You were here for it.
We're gonna do that every stream. No, we have to do that every single stream from now. Did we just solve the One Piece?
Did we just solve the One Piece?
Oh my god! Clip it.
No,
Somebody.
I think it'd be wild. I think
we gotta get a
absolutely wild
montage
to see Vince Smoke coming out here.
What if they flipped him and he became good? He just became a loving father to Sanji.
He turned
like the military aspect of this is insane. They have a full clone army and they can accelerate the aging process. So like they say, give up your life force or your lifespan or whatever it was. I think that was the translation we got for whenever Emu flipped Dorian Brogy. These guys like are already used to giving up their lifespan. Like I think it's like it takes 5 years to get them to like 20 years old, which is older than Sanji and Zoro currently are in the story, right? Or no, it's like at the same age as like them and Luffy, like right in between. So like 5 years and you can have a full grown army and then flip them. And then same thing, wash, rinse, repeat. Like that's actually kind of huge. Plus they can climb the red line with Saint Germain.
And,
it's a mobile. It's one of the only mobile instances of a mobile kingdom. I think it's the only one that we see, right?
Yeah.
Zunisha.
Thriller Bark.
And Zunisha.
Well, world government affiliated. Like, we've seen places that can move, but like this is a world government affiliated kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
There was something I was going to say as well. So this brings up an interesting art. Why do I have this pencil in my hand? I've had it since the start of the stream.
Also, Water 7 has a mayor, not a king.
Anyway.
He's a dude. He's just a dude.
This brings up an interesting point.
This is America.
Do we think that Judge has already been flipped? I mean, Mads...
Ooh.
what happened between Mads and him finally taking reigns as the king of the Germans?
Hold on, are you saying Nads?
I said Mads. I did not know.
Oh, okay.
Dude, it sounds like Mads.
I heard Nads. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
He took his Nads. He went to the world government. He said, "Flip me,
Oh man.
please, Emu, flip me." I'm gonna stop there.
So I'm gonna shout out Mr. Bushido in the chat because he is actually, this is something I've heard him saying a lot, is his theory that potentially Sanji might have some connection to celestial lineage, because in the mock-up, in the concept for the Garuda for Judge, he was originally supposed to be a CD. Yeah. So it's interesting, and that he's Reverie affiliated, and like I've heard Bushido spit about this a couple times, and I really don't put too much stock into it, but I think it's interesting. And in this conversation specifically, it would be just really crazy if, because like he would be like this is something that I'll get into right after this if no one has anything else to say about Judge, but it's like the rightful like king potentially from one of those 20 families that originally held an island, like with Doflamingo's family from and King Riku Godoldo III.
Yeah, I mean, not to go more into this, but as I've been saying forever, is every Mads do their research based off a special lineage: Giants, Lunarians, Buccaneers. Judge did it just on Sora, which I said she has to have some sort of important lineage. But yeah, so it's interesting thought. Anyways, so I'm gonna then jump in with my proposition.
Well, I was gonna spit on Doflamingo for a bit.
Go Doflamingo. I can go after you. No worries. Go.
Yeah, like legitimately, he's called the Heavenly Demon, and so like you're also like you would think that he is somebody who is fully aligned with the world government already, but he's just kind of doing his own thing, playing by his own code and whatnot. But if he, as somebody who is technically, by at least some perspective, like especially somebody like Emu's point of view, he's a rightful ruler of a nation, of a land, right?
Yep.
Whether the people agree with that or King Riku Doldu's lineage like agree with that, it's like Doflamingo might still qualify through maybe some type of loophole, and it would be really crazy if we had like a fully, like not a Weasley guy who you think, oh, he's just gonna side with you until he can like get the one up and stab you in the back or something. No, like a fully devoted Doflamingo, which is something that we can't even guarantee from his Seraphim, because they're like, you can't control like the true will of it or whatever. The instinct is still there, whatever Lilith said at the beginning of Egghead. So I think it would be really interesting if we did get some sort of like Doffy 2.0 entrance, and he was like massive and could just do crazy, even crazier shit with it. Can you imagine like several island wide birdcage?
Think about it. That could also be a factor in it, because Doffy is now, not only was he like a born ruler, but he's also kind of a fallen king at the moment, right? Because he was dethroned by Luffy and King Riku was reinstated. So maybe both of them could, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Be players in this like game almost. Both of them are pieces that are eligible to be flipped because of those rules. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here. Someone just put a spoiler in the chat. It threw me off. Sorry.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
It got me. You're
good. It was just a question.
But no, yeah. I think with Doflamingo specifically, it's interesting because with that potential loophole that opens up more individuals, it like conceptually it opens up like, what if that's the whole reason why like celestial dragons being kind of farmed Minecraft style up at the top of the red line, like what if that is just like a way of Emu having a failsafe that they will always have a vessel, something we kind of talked about in a previous discussion. But like Doflamingo still technically qualifies to be one of those like backup vessels that like obviously Emu has in mass like way up top, but like him being able to go anywhere else and do anything else is like, it's really, really menacing to think about. And I do kind of still have this theory that we're not going to be able to expect what we get out of the Seraphim because of the whole boa or like the snake interaction with Luffy and whatnot. So I don't know if that's going to be the tool for the government that they think it will be, but they could have a whole different response that's way because like look at how much Dorian Brogy like blew up in size. So imagine that happening to Doflamingo.
Oh, dude, he'd be gigantic.
Who was an awakened Conqueror's Haki, user. Like he actually has like an awakened Devil Fruit and Conqueror's Haki usage. So I'm just like,
that does bring up another question, which is, do we think that this power will work on Conqueror's Haki users? Because we don't know that Dorian Brogy, like if they have it or not. We know they have armament, and we've seen them exude some kind of Haki, but we don't know if it's necessarily Conqueror's, right?
No, we do.
We don't.
He is confirmed Conqueror.
You're talking about Doflamingo? No.
Oh, no,
Dorian Brogy. That's what I'm saying. Is that no, they're not. Might be this might be an aspect of, can Conquerors even be flipped by either side?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I feel like that might be what we're seeing, though, is a product of Conquerors, potentially. If this isn't a Devil Fruit, or if it's in tandem. We've seen people utilize their Devil Fruits alongside their Haki abilities, like Enel with his mantra and his Rumble Fruit. So, like, I'm wondering if Conqueror's Haki might be a part of the equation. So just having it might not be enough. You would need to have a superior control or amount of it, as opposed to potentially what's happening here, Well,
that could also be why, like, not to get too far off topic, but why only Joy Boy had the amount of Haki to stop Emu in the first place. Maybe their Conqueror's Haki is amplifying this power and allowing them to get that first Conqueror that allows them to flip.
Yeah, it is wild. And like, I think that of all of the different potential monarchs or like kings or rulers that we could have discussed, I was the most eager to talk about Doflamingo, specifically because of the loophole and implications that, like, if this were to be something that were revealed, not only is there like a whole Impel Down 2.0 thing a lot of people have been talking about, but I do think it would just provide a lot more interesting theory fodder for like the whole community.
Of course, yeah. Because that does bring up, like I said, that brings up that interesting point too. Like, does Dofi still count because he was a dethroned king, or does that even play a bigger part in it and everything else? It's definitely.
Well, wasn't he also the king of the underworld? I mean, if we're just looking,
he was one of them.
Yeah, he was one of them as well. Yeah, that's two dethroned.
King to me. We're gonna call Luffy a king for being king of the bards. So.
I'm just gonna say this.
Spoilers. Like, I was gonna bring him. No, I'm kidding.
So, just a question. If Doflamingo goes to the contract, considering who Doflamingo is, can we consider that a curse or a blessing for Doflamingo in a way? Because in a way, you think about it, that's something that it's everything that he wanted. He calls himself Heavy Demon, and he wants to be immortal.
Well, I feel like
he's gonna get what he wants.
Yeah, we're assuming that if he does get in, it's kind of through a bit of a narrative loophole, like, because it's somebody else believing of him to be a ruler, but maybe not the people themselves. So I don't know if that is what's necessary, or if this, we're just speculating here. But if he kind of gets in on a loophole, I could see him being somebody who would try to legitimately, and shout out to Straw Hat Lucas here, like pull a bit of a Faustian thing on Emu. If he's like, I'll get into your contract, and he tries to weasel them instead of, I don't know, like, I could see that also being a thing. He's a very unpredictable character.
Yeah.
Especially if you were to give him this type of power up, because we saw with Dorian Brogy, it makes them wild. So I would like to see what it would be like to see like a flipped Doflamingo. That would be sick. He's already one of my favorite villains in all of One Piece. And I think that would be like just a ridiculously crazy way of like, there's been a lot of anime and manga that have brought back previous villains in later arcs. And I'm not usually a fan of it, but there's cool ways that it's been done. This would be a cool way. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cube, I believe you had one you were going to bring up before Vex spit on Doflamingo.
And because we saw some of those forms with different people in Wano, and I feel like if that kingdom flips, it might have all those different beings. The current Sakura Kingdom, formerly known as Drum Island, that used to have Wapol as king, but now it has Dalton. I feel like if they're flipped, we would get similar to the Sulong forms of Dogstorm and Catstorm and Roof Piece, those demon ones with, you know, like with their eyes glowing red, and the ice zombies, the ice onis that we saw in the Roof Piece. I do feel like Drum Island with it, because the way we saw right now is it's depending on the culture of the country, right? So they're giants, so they go to Onis. So I do see that Sakura Kingdom could become that. You know, what we saw in Roof Piece. The eyes Onis.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up Dalton as well, because that'd be a huge flip. Not just in terms of like power or anything like that, but impact. Like seeing Dalton flip would crush Vivi, would crush Luffy. It'd be heavy.
Yeah, and I could see Dalton's, like, because of their abilities, if Dalton can still use his Devil Fruit forms, what if, like, this could also show something very similar to what you saw with Sulong, which we've talked about a few times, where there's something odd about Sulong that almost looks sometimes with their eyes glowing red, you know, like almost like a demon, you know, on demon time. So I could see something like that with Dalton, you know. And if you look at Dalton, because I looked at him today, when he's in his animal form or hybrid form, he's well groomed, you know what I mean? He's posed, you know, he's nice. I could see it be like, you know, like we saw some of the Sulongs, like Nekomushi and Dogstorm and Catstorm. I can't say their names for the god of me. You know, like how their hair were all over the place. Einstein style.
Yeah, I think it'd be like like a combination of Sulong and the Jailer Beasts, because like, you know, being a Zoan type, if this were to be like a Forced Awakening, think of it like a Jailer Beast, but like also like, I don't know, like I'm thinking like a War Grey or like a Skull Greymon situation from Digimon, where they are forced with this power to like grow to a different form, but aren't able to control themselves. That would be sick. It's like Monster Point Dalton, you know?
Yeah. And I have a funny meme. I have a meme moment of if it happens. And so imagine, you guys, in a distant future, this happens to Sakura Kingdom. Everyone is turned, right? And as everyone is turned, one person says, "Ha! I'm already immortal, Dr. Correa." And she just says, you guys should have just told me for the secret. I would have told you free of charge, no contracts. Yeah, I also feel like this could be a funny thing where if Correa is actually immortal, that she's like, well, I'm not turning because I'm already immortal. The loophole. Which would be funny.
Yeah, I already have one of those conditions. You know, like, what do you have to offer me, actually? Kind of thing.
Wait till you see me when I'm angry.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder, though, too, just a little bit more how important the smaller monarchies, even if they're not world government affiliated, will play a part. You know what I mean?
Well, you have to also remember that kingdom is more important for like potentially like it has the 20 doctors is like a parallel maybe to the 20 kings.
20 kings and everything, of course, yeah.
But then it hosts the Amyudake, which is like a insta kill, like if they weaponize that, like that's crazy. But also it might have hosted the miracle cure, like the panacea shit, like so I mean, like the thing is like one of the people in the entire verse who knows the most about music, or not music, about medicine, was there looking for medicine, right?
Yep. Plus,
so there could be a lot more significance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, there's serious implications behind Drum Kingdom, Drum Island, however you want to say it. Soccer Kingdom now, as we should call it. And the fact that it's
based off of Mexico.
Finally, full circle.
Exactly. Looks so Mexico, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, but guys, like, that's obviously, clearly classic Mexican imagery.
No. Back on track, but it is like the one country, like for the first half of the story, we've seen actually change, like go through revolution. The kings changed, the atmosphere changed, their, rules, their laws, everything. So yeah. I can see Drum Kingdom being huge.
Yeah, I could too, actually.
For sure.
I do have one that's less in the aspect of being flipped and more in the aspect I feel like they forced to flip. And it could give us a hint about who they, like, what their race is, and that's Kuma. Because, think about it, he was a king, and they immediately, once he was a king, were like, he's our enemy now, because he's a buccaneer and a king. And we know that they have some kind of special will about them, from what Saturn was saying, or something special that causes them to be able to overcome some of these things. So I'm wondering if that is the great sin that was committed by the Buccaneers, is that they could not be controlled by Emu. They have some kind of natural resistance to this power.
So
I could go off on a tangent there, but
yeah, I have something actually for you, Lucas. I've been talking about how, you know, they refer as this Nika Joy Boy, the War of Liberation. I said one of those races, like the Buccaneers Lunarians, were saved. And we see that many times when someone gets some sort of like cure, they have some sort of immunity. So I could see the Buccaneers, if they went it in the past and they got saved by Nika, is that because of that, it does give all the power, but none of the control.
Yeah.
Anyways, you could go on. That was just a thought.
No, that's really, like, the extent of it is that it seems interesting to me that the minute they became a king, they had to get him out of commission. Because it means they're an important... Maybe that title does indicate some kind of important role in this bigger scheme, right? Especially with how we've seen the conditions of Emu's power laid out for us at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to do some homework and look into it. I remember in the English dub in Amazon Lily, they actually say that they don't say directly that Luffy has conqueror's haki, because they're not fully aware of what, like, people in the outside world call it. They say specifically that he has the qualifications of a supreme king.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which when you guys were talking about, we were talking about Emu's haki and how it may play a part into the way that their powers work and everything. I kept thinking about that term, the Supreme King, colors of the Supreme King and stuff like that. Because we've heard other people be like, oh no, he has Conqueror's haki, but then we've heard other people with Conqueror's haki being referred to as having the colors of the Supreme King. And it makes me think like maybe those are the actual contenders for the One Piece in some aspect.
And
you know what I mean? Like
a friend of their channel, Crow, Majin Crow, Pirate Hunter Crow. He's got like 12 different alts. I can't, but the host of Crow's Nest, and one of our friends over at OPU. They do what they do. Cousins to the Eternal Dawn. He had actually talked about this in, I think, episode 2 of Crow's Nest, where he was talking about Conqueror's haki is not something that it has directly been confirmed that you have to be born with. It says that only certain people are allowed to get it, and some people are born with it, but those are not correlative. So I think that specifically with them calling it the qualifications of a Supreme King, it is something that you can like kind of Luffy your way into, you know what I mean? I don't think 5-year-old Luffy was just destined to become a conqueror, but he had achieved enough things to gain it, you know?
Of course, yeah. And it could be a Nin situation from Hunter x Hunter, where him seeing what, because Shanks used it right in front of him, right? Like right in front of him. Maybe he was affected by that. Who knows? Like that is probably the least, when it comes to hockey, the one that we know the least amount about is Conquerors, I feel like. Because observation, it's easy to understand. Same with Future Sight and stuff like that. And same with armament and the way that like Rio hockey works and things like that. But Conquerors, there's just so many, like the qualifications thing, I'm sorry, Will, you threw me off so bad with that comment. I'm still laughing about it. But the Supreme King, like I said, it could be a different. Sorry, once again, twice now the comments have tripped me up.
Lock in.
Stop reading the comments. Stop reading the comments while you're talking.
They're funny. My boys are cooking hilarity down there.
Oh my god.
Anyways, can I jump in with the Conqueror's haki thing? Because as I've been saying many times, there was something that Rady keeps bringing up, and I asked Kuso, friend of the channel, who actually looked at it, and it is very similar to that. Is the way he talked about hockey, Bloom, and then he talks about Conqueror's hockey, then you see all the Conquerors we've seen their backstories. They have the same thing. They were able to get through something very tough that most people would just be scared of at a very young age, and they were without a doubt something that really keeps repeating with hockey. So I think it's also that, you know, it's something about their circumstances that makes them a king among other people.
Do you think that trauma is like a part of it as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one course, because Rayleigh had also told Luffy specifically that in a near-death experience, that's like the easiest way for your hockey to grow. That doesn't mean it's the only way, but that is the most accessible way for somebody like Luffy, I feel like. Well, whereas there are other means, and Ace with Blue Jam. So like, yeah, there's several instances of children being basically faced with unaliving and then developing that. It's 2 examples, which is not a lot, but it's weird that happens twice.
And you also have the same thing with when Yamato at a young age, that flashback of Yamato with, you know, the survivor Daimos. It was only when they gave her will again, and she was fighting back, that she showed Kaido she had Conqueror's hockey at a young age. It was only after she started fighting back, but before that, she just, you know, I'm being hated by my father, mistreated. She just accepted it. So I can see something. You know, it's a spectrum. And this can explain how Zoro could unlock it so later on. Maybe it took him longer time to deal with those stuff, you know.
Yeah, we all had a first pick that we spit on, and Lucas has just given his second, and then we kind of riffed off of that a bit. Knack, did you have another one you wanted to mention?
Oh yeah, for sure. I got a couple, but I think that okay, Riku. I know I'm hitting everybody right where it hurts, but if King Riku was to be flipped, that would just completely decimate the entirety of Dressrosa right now.
There's been foreshadowing because of what happened with Doflamingo. He was marionetted and was controlled to betray his people, and so like that's something I mentioned a couple discussions ago as well. I don't want to see any more bad things happen to this man, so I went with Doflamingo as the alternative, because I was like, for one, Riku's been through enough, and for two, I really want Doflamingo back into the story somehow that's cool and isn't forced. So but this would be tragic. This would be so tragic.
I think that King Riku's backstory could also just like to bring back to what I was saying about like the smaller kingdoms, that could be their role in it, right? Emu just takes control of them and sets them loose on their kingdoms, controlling them like puppets as they slaughter their people. Right? Like,
just they're part of the Grand Fleet now, and it's just like losing another territory from Luffy. Yeah, like there's precedent for Emu to go after these places. I just, you know, I wouldn't want to see it, but it is definitely still an option. And there's a few funny ones I could have said, but I think Riku would hit really hard.
Yeah, I do too. Especially if he does have like another moment of unleashing his new power on Dressrosa. Like, it would be brutal. Like Vex said, it would be devastating for the people of Dressrosa.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't even need to see it either. Like, we would understand the extent of what it was if we just found out it happened. Like, we wouldn't even need to see all the chaos go down. Like, just one confirmation that this happened would be like, oh, Dressrosa.
Like
the worst part of the conversation. Well, the worst part of the conversation that we could be having, and I'll go there, I ain't afraid, is that what if Riku is taken out and they have to go for a different royal family member? Because we've seen that Viola and Rebecca exist, and Kyros, I don't know if he qualifies, but
the thing is like
Kyros. They don't even have to show us Riku, but if they show us like a demon Rebecca who's bossing people around, we know what happened to Riku off screen, and that would be also tragic, right?
It would be like the exact same circumstance as what's going on with Dory and Brogy right now. Kill the person who's acting as current monarch, and then proclaim yourself as the new monarch. Like, ooh.
Right.
Yeah, and
we've seen
my next pick relates to that actually, but like I'll wait because this is interesting. This is Dressrosa is one of my most beloved arcs, and if they have been through enough as well, but this would be insane. And with them they seem to be central. It was like a bit of a hub with the Colosseum there for a lot of like, this could be huge if this is a thing. And then Green Bit is right there as well. So that means they would no doubt get their hands on Mancheri, right?
Right.
Ooh, yeah,
exactly. And
that's an asset.
We've just
that's
seen
an asset.
The other older king, leave stage left.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I looked at Riku and Cobra as like the same level. You know what I mean? Like they've been ruling, or not ruling, because obviously Riku lost control, but like they look the same age. They seem about the same in terms of generation wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be tragic.
It would be really, really interesting. And yeah, it's like a 2-for-1, because like I don't see how you get you one without the other. But that would be insane if they got all of the Totara. And
there's actually a reason for them to go there and punish Dressrosa right now because of what Leo did.
Yeah, but I was talking about how Mancheri could be an asset because she heals, but they really don't need that if they have an immortal form, right?
Well, they can get the Celestial Dragon stop complaining about shit.
Yeah, but Viola as an asset
is key. Yeah,
because that clairvoyance power is just disgusting, dude. Her devil fruit, if she were on like the flip side,
talking about an asset, yeah.
Shoot.
I was not. I didn't mean it that way. I was talking about her devil fruit. Get your head out of the gutter, Vex. But also smash. Anyway,
my next one has a lot to go into that, which would be you were talking about how it would parallel taking out of the previous or the current ruler for establishing a new one and then flipping them. We were thinking about a lot throughout this past like week and a half which people we would be talking about, and I thought about Neptune, but I immediately thought that Neptune would be strategically taken out and they would instead flip Shirahoshi, the next in line. Well, she's not the next in line, but that would mean they'd have to take out Fukuboshi, Ryoboshi, Monboshi as well.
Never, ever even speak into existence Ryoboshi being taken out.
But
no,
it makes sense that they would strategically try to take these people out, because if they were to be able to flip a confirmed ancient weapon, but a confirmed ancient weapon, this should be, and we've seen Emu with a picture of Shirahoshi in their butterfly garden.
I was gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
So this makes the most sense to me. I was like, dude, what if they flip Neptune? Those are the pieces
she needs to take out, more than likely.
Yeah,
like.
And again, I'm not confirmed that this is. I'm not like, I haven't seen anything that says this is a devil fruit power, and even if it is, it's an extension of a devil fruit power, as opposed to like because the mark fruit was able to work underwater. Like we saw that in Fishman Island. So devil fruit powers can work underwater. It's just the devil fruit user that is affected.
Yeah,
but
and I would even
that is not to say that this would make them the user as much as just somebody being affected by the user, right? So I think this would be cracked. This would be insane. This would be entirely board flipping. It would feel like one singular piece just like it's like Otama in Wano, but on crack. It's like way bigger than that, you know?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I think more evidence that it's not a devil fruit, just because of the mark on the book and everything else. Like, but we still haven't seen enough to confirm either way. I just don't know with Shirahoshi flipping, the way that the only way I could see that going in Luffy's favor is if he has both ancient weapons and then is able to flip her back. And like, that's how we get Shirahoshi.
She's also able to understand the Sea Kings.
Yeah. Well, she's the easiest
her power
one
is
to get right now.
Her power as Poseidon is to, for sure, but her whole thing is that she can talk to Sea Kings, and like Luffy can hear them as well. So maybe that's how we combat it, and he talk knows the ocean. I don't know. But like,
we'd be
I don't know.
You know me and you ocean. We all know different.
It'd be like, now they've got the sky and the ocean. Yeah. Crazy.
It'd be sick. Crazy. It'd be absolutely insane.
But yeah, no, Will Anel's in Canada. He's not the king of anything.
Oh my god.
Canada's canonically based off of Chicago, Illinois, by the way.
So, but I think that Shirahoshi would be the most powerful individual piece of any one royal figure on the entire board outside of the Celestial Dragons themselves. You know what I mean? I do really feel like she is that big of an asset.
I do too. That's why I'm like, she's the easiest ancient weapon for Luffy to grab right now.
Yeah.
So flipping her makes the most sense. That's why I think if Oda does go that direction, he'll end up getting the other two ancient weapons so that Shirahoshi will be the last one that he needs. You know what I mean? It makes it more climactic, where the one that you would think he can easily go get is actually the last piece he needs for that puzzle. Yeah, I like that. I like the take of Shirahoshi being the one to get flips. I would say Fukaboshi if she doesn't flip Shirahoshi, but I like Shirahoshi being the one to possibly be flipped from Fishman.
The pictures.
It just means more if it's her also, not just to us, but to Luffy and company.
Yeah.
Like, it just means so much more than that it's her than anyone else in this family.
Yeah.
The crybaby.
And
unfortunately,
like we said when we seen the chapter, like if you look at all the pictures, you could assign a royalty to every member that Inu was looking at. And
she was one of the four. Yeah.
Too convenient, right? Yeah.
That is super convenient because Blackbeard is right now possibly about to be the king of Hachinosu, and then
that's his goal.
Yeah, and then who else?
We'll talk about him later. We'll talk about him later for sure.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about Carrot. No.
I can spit. No, I can spit. Like,
Q, go ahead, brother.
So my pick is obviously it is not a recognized kingdom, but they function as a kingdom. And I think if the government can Imu can flip them, they might be the most dangerous force.
Yeah.
Amazon Lily. Yes. If they flip Amazon Lily. And almost a lot of the females are warriors. Imagine if they get rid of Hancock and like, I don't know, Marguerite becomes the queen, the new ruler. They would become a threat to the world.
Snakes. Can you imagine all the snakes flipped
the
and
snakes
like with demon wings and shit? Like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And the sea kings are the ones
all
who
women become evil eventually anyway.
Yeah. But you guys imagine the Kuja tribe? They become that thing, like those demon forms. Dude, look at them now, how they are a threat. Imagine afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I mean I don't like it's really interesting to think about as well, because we've talked about devil fruit users and hockey users and how they might be amplified as well if they're flipped. And we have some very prolific, 3 specific, very solid devil fruit and hockey users right there. Like, we haven't seen Boa canonically in much action, but she was kicking ass in Stampede. So I'm like, and she is her devil fruit is ridiculously cracked, like insanely cracked. And if it just made her giant and demonic, I think that would only bolster that. But
what if it made her a Medusa?
That's interesting. That's really
Gorgon,
cool. But
you know what I mean? Like
maybe 2 of her, her 2 sisters for sure. Like, I think they would like get that appearance at least, because they're both very prolific devil fruit users as well. So, and they all have confirmed hockey, although I think she's the only one who has Supreme King hockey. Like,
Hancock is the only one from there who's confirmed to have it.
I mean,
every empress has to have it, so you could say that Gloriosa and Shaki definitely must also have it, because I think that's they choose their queens with conquers hockey.
Yeah, that is how they choose their rulers. It's the one non familial succession that we know of.
I was gonna say also for all people, if they actually flip Hancock, hide your puppies and your kittens. They're not safe.
if they flip Sandersonia,
hide your baby seals.
Hide me.
He said hide me. Oh my god.
Another point as well. Another point I feel like also what would be very dangerous, as Vex brought up Shiroshi with the Sea King is very dangerous, but don't forget there's a special relationship between the Sea Kings and the Amazon Lily that could continue. So Potentially the
Yeah.
Sea Kings might even still side with them, so that's what.
That's what I'm saying.
More.
The giant ass snakes that pull their ships and they use as like weapons and stuff like that. Like, the Yuta are, they hunt Sea Kings and they're like very, very poisonous and powerful. And like if they had wings and became like gigantic, like Nola size, that'd be crazy.
Oh my god. Yeah. And we did see, Nola, which Skypiea is a lot of important imagery for canon. Like a lot of important imagery.
Don't skip it. Yeah, definitely don't skip it.
We're the in-game.
Hey, I heard the live action. Did you guys know there's a live action? I heard they were gonna skip Skypiea for the memes.
I would. Could you imagine they end in season 4 with like Alabasta? They go to Jaya, and then like they're just at Water 7. Like I can't believe we fell from the Sky Islands. Like
no, but
no, they have to end it like the 4Kids dub and just
with the shit's falling on them, and then they just pick up in Water 7.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine here.
It's all cool.
That's
just ignore that.
That's the Thousand Sunny. That's what fell on them, and then they got that repaired. Because no, I'm kidding. We're getting on a whole different stream tangent. Like, let us know if you want us to write the rest of the live action. But we'll do a whole stream on that. Yeah, I think Amazon Lily is insane.
Sorry. I was just gonna say. Then they get to Solar Bark, where Brooke talks about an iceberg.
Oh my god!
I was going down the Grand Line. There was a giant iceberg. Oh, that was my child.
Stop, yo.
Our ice moon.
Anybody else have anything to say on Boa Hancock? I think that's a sick pick. That is one of the more powerful.
So much to say on Sandersonia. So much.
Stop.
No. So much.
Pick a different monarch. It's your turn, Lucas.
Is it? I have one more. Let me look at my list real quick. Because my last one kind of was the one that tied over with Vex's. I only went with 4, but it's Wapol. I don't think he's gonna be flipped to Emu though. I think he's gonna be flipped to Luffy.
He's already like a black piece. Like
he's already a black piece on the board because of his nature. But then once he sees Nika, he'll flip to the white piece.
Yeah, because he did see Emu
at the Reverie.
He saw Emu, and he is not at the Reverie. That's in his first appearance. He's wearing a giant white hippo coat, and then he becomes part of the Black Drum Kingdom, which signifies his flip, right? And then we'll see him return. I don't think he's ever going to be like fully redeemed to a good person. Yeah, with Vivi. But like, I do think that we'll get like that little, I'm going to team up with you guys, even though I don't want to. You know what I mean? So in spirit, becoming a white piece.
Flipped at the same time, and we get like good Wapol and bad Vivi. What if that's a 2-for-1?
And then she beats him up for what he did to her as a child. That sounded bad. That sounded bad.
You brought her up. So Vivi was also a pitcher in Emu's catalog.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's 100% true. I think that Wapol being flipped to good is hilarious, and I think that it's plausible that it could happen because, like, for one, if they know that you're already evil and if flipping you makes you good, why would they pursue Doflamingo? So that kind of rules him out if this is a thing. But like, what if they just are aiming for Vivi and he gets it as well? Pause. But like, you know, like
he gets super jacked and he's like a major hero. He's like, I'll save
Gear 5.
kids.
Gear 5 Wapol. Let's call it what it
is.
I'm telling you, he's gonna chew up the Straw Hat Pirates and like they're all gonna be like a gigantic Gear 5 Afroed Luffy. The Afro piece is real, y'all.
For
he's gonna sue Frankie for Wappa metal. Wait a minute, what's the metal in your mechas? I have a contract.
But yeah, I think that Wapol is interesting. His Devil Fruit is legitimately crazy if you were to combine kind of like imagination or demon powers to it. So having him either on like the Emu or Nika side, like that's just kind of terrifying because that power, and Oda only made it more confusing over the time skip when he introduced the concept of Wappa metal. I'm just like, hold on, he ate garbage like and spit gold. Like,
I said this. It's not the munch fruit. It's the fusion fruit. That fruit is just weird. It does stuff that, it just breaks nature. So yeah.
He's
It's a good
Douglas
pick,
Bullet.
Wapo. Yeah.
Careful on the
he
word of
becomes he becomes Douglas Bullet for sure.
Yeah.
will.
So I actually had an interesting one, but not talking about who would flip. I'm wondering if that kingdom flipped a long time ago, and because of what happened to that kingdom, is why they came back to Elbath. I'm wondering if the king of Lelucia, who looked like a vampire, he even had fangs and
Where?
everything. Oh yeah, the formerly an island that disappeared in apparently recently through Vegamog's message. The images I saw of that king, he looked just like a vampire.
What is he talking about, Chat? Has he been drinking the Kool-Aid?
What's his name? King of what?
The king, what's his
That
name?
place
Wait,
didn't exist.
King, what's his name again?
It's
A king that's
Seki.
called. Yeah,
Seki.
thank you, Seki. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, he
memes
never
aside.
existed. He's fictional.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I did think about this as well because of the whole the potential, there's been several theories about Emu maybe being a vampire, and Lelucia did have what looked to be actual vampire people.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Seki, especially
But-
fangs.
But
Hey.
memes aside, that guy's cooked. That guy is toast. He is not there anymore. So I don't know. If they find maybe a mole in the revs because they just took on a bunch of Lelucia refugees, right?
Yep.
So maybe one of them has royal blood and becomes flipped, and then all the revs. I'm sorry, I know I'm not trying to turn this against you, Cube, but maybe. Right?
No, the rest have immunity. They have Ivankov, the miracle worker. Don't worry.
Immunity. Well, no, and that's something I was going to bring up as well. Ivankov is a queen. Kamabaka Queendom. Ivankov was the queen of New Kama Queendom as well, and I'm like, does that qualify you?
No.
Could Ivankov be flipped?
Yeah. But Ivankov cannot be flipped. You know why? Because Ivankov has the cure, the Okama way. Remember in Impel Down, they said the Okama way is the only way.
That sketch Oda gave us of Ivankov with the fish fruit.
That's
Actually,
weird.
Ivankov turned.
That's
would be
crazy. That's the flipped Ivankov, which
That's flipped Ivankov. Yep.
that's a crazy thing to think about, because Ivankov, we haven't really even seen them flex. All of the things that we've seen them do has been casual. We can. Yeah, and they basically, them and It Takes a Village, but they were who was responsible for training Sanji post time skip. So they do carry over into post time skip and have a ridiculous amount of tangible feats. They were in Marineford, and they were specifically talking about when they were locked up in Impel Down, we can get out whenever.
Yep.
And they're the most accomplished One Piece theorist.
So, people talk about Impel Down Marineford. Impel Down Marineford. Ivankov was there as a support, a very important support like Jinbei, but still a support. Dude is behind the God Valley incident. If it wasn't for him and Ginny, it wouldn't have gone as crazy as it became. At 15 years old. Yeah, they were kids and they gaslighted the whole event, the whole incident.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So seeing them flipped would be insane. Yeah. And again, that would cascade into virtually the rest of Momoiro Island, and in turn, the Revolutionary Army HQ, which would be bad. That would be very, very bad. We do not want that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a rough spell. But at least Dragon will do something. No.
Yeah, I think that something that was on my mind, you had mentioned, who did you say just before this, Cube? I'm sorry.
Seki.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure on Lelucia or Seki, just because it's fully cooked. It is gone. But yeah, if somehow the revs were to be infiltrated, that's something I kind of thought about a lot because of the Ivankov thing. But if the royalty of Lelucia, if they're next in line, had escaped, that would also be a really interesting way of that potentially happening, because somebody's got to come up with a cure for this. And I'm thinking it's probably gonna be Chopper as far as here on the home team on this front, but elsewhere around the world, what if there are other people who could be qualified? And maybe that's Lindbergh. I don't know. But it's something I definitely put a lot of thought into when I was thinking of who all could be flipped here. But it's time. Like, we actually do, and I'm so sorry, Cube. We really do have to talk about Carrot. Like 100%, we really do have to talk about Carrot.
I came back just for Carrot.
Yeah, this is one of the most important players in the game, like Boa Hancock level. Maybe not quite Shirahoshi level, though.
So what did I miss when I was gone? I could hear you guys, but it kept cutting in and out. Every time Cube said some kind of king, and then like some kingdom, it just kept going shh, shh. So I don't know what that's about.
We talked about Ivankov and King Seki.
Yeah. Who? I heard Ivankov. Who's the other one?
Shut up.
You should dedicate yourself.
Like,
Vegapunk talked about him in his message. You should listen to Vegapunk a bit more.
Yeah, probably.
No, but legitimately, Carrot is she was promoted, and there have famously been several people within the community who had taken issue with the fact that she was put in charge. And I'm not opposed to, like, it doesn't fully make sense, but if it were a creative decision that would lead to the flipping of all of Zhao, that would be actually something that would justify that, I think, a little bit, because I would be like, wow, that's crazy.
It would lead to her. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, they already have the power of Sulong, which is what we said was like the energy steroids was like a pseudo, like flipping into a white piece temporarily kind of thing. And so if we were to flip them the other way, like they could have like, I don't know, like double demon form or something. I don't know. It's actually insane though, because as an entire nation, they are ridiculously strong. And one thing about Elbaf that we've seen is that the world government does not currently have presence and dominance there, which is why they had to depose the current regime and establish another one like we were talking about earlier. But if the world government were already affiliated, maybe they wouldn't have to go through as many hoops. But Zhao is not world government affiliated, much like Elbaf, and much like Amazon Lily. So there's like I think there's an interesting argument that Carrot would not need to be deposed like how like Ja Rule is or anything like that, and she could just be immediately promoted. But if this entire nation, once they get old enough, is effectively able to in the moonlight go Sulong, what if this were gonna be like in the sunlight, they go into like a even Wulong. Crazier demon form or something,
like Sun Wukong. They go Wukong and they go all black and start wrecking shit. That's legitimately where my thoughts went.
It'd be ridiculously powerful though, because Sulong is already a really, really, really huge buff. And so like going demon form on top of that would be crazy, I think, right?
Oh, 100%.
Double demon form.
Yeah.
I wonder though.
Instantly think it was double D's. They're turning into double D's.
I got a great idea.
Double D's.
I do like the Carrot storyline because I am still I'm doubling down on this. I said it in the past, but now with the recent chapter, is it confirming? I do think Zunisha is someone that was flipped a long time ago. That's why.
I was about to bring this up. I don't know if they're necessarily flipped or if they just got cursed with immortality or whatever they did. Like, you've watched all of your friends pass, you don't get to. You get to walk the seas forever, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold off on Zunisha. Because he was said to be part of a specific species. What if you see all the other elephants of that species are the exact same way?
I'm going to be honest, I don't need a solid answer on Zunisha. Because
I don't either. I'm cool with it just being a thing, but...
Like, if they allude to it a little bit or something, but don't give us the full thing, I'm cool with that. If they don't tell us anything anymore, just because I think the curse is pretty spelled out right now that it was something to do with whatever Joy Boy did and his crew.
I wasn't trying to disparage it.
Of course. That's all. Yeah.
Right. The fact that they are somebody who has directly name dropped Joy Boy, and like it makes me wonder if Zunisha had already previously been flipped hundreds of years ago, and then them allying with Joy Boy originally was what got them cursed. And so this reflipping of them could free them from that. And like, I don't know, it's like because freedom is something that is directly said by one of the transformed giants in one of the most recent chapters. And so like Zunisha is one of the largest, oldest, and least free characters we have seen in the entire story, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that would be insane. And the way to do that is, I don't think that you're able to just capture Zunisha themselves, but if you capture Carrot, which I think would be pretty easy, I'm sorry, then you would get there in enough time.
Place decimated.
They're still really strong. Jack was just using chemical warfare, but yeah, the entire nation is really strong. Maybe not Elbaf level, but I think on par, if not above, Amazon Lily level. And they're mobile. Yeah. And like it's one of the more pivotal pieces on the board, unironically. You know, Carrot memes aside, like I think it's a sick capture. Aside, if I were planning out my line of attack, I would probably go for Shirahoshi first, and then I would prioritize Carrot, Boa, and a few other, leaders above a lot of others.
Of course, yeah, because with Zunisha, you get like, think about that, Wanda, Nika Momoshi, what is his name? I just forgot it too, Cube.
Inuarashi.
Inuarashi, like
Storm, Dogstorm.
Yeah, Dogstorm and Cat Viper. Let's go.
That's how I call them.
Storm.
Yeah, those two. Yeah, Cat Storm.
Dogstorm and Cat Storm. That's how I call them.
Okay. But no, like they are both like powerhouses who sailed with Roger and Odin. Like, you know what I mean? Like those two know how to fight. They're major players. So I think you're right, Vex. I think going for Zunisha and the Fishman Island area is like, those are two major plays that will come into play.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering, something that's interesting, both Emmett and Zunisha like seems to get their freedom when they hear the drums of liberation. Like I'm wondering if the drums of liberation is a cure to this as well. Hearing the drums might, empty your, free your mind. You might look like it because it's interesting. Well, Emmett was fake, but Zunisha and Wano never really spoke until he heard the drums of liberation. Like his personality came back. His eyes had life again.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if drum of liberation is a cure, or a resistance at least.
May spark something.
Which could explain why they don't want Nika back. Maybe just him being around can free people.
Dude, imagine sovereigns who had been flipped years and years ago getting reversed because the drums of liberation get played all over the world. Like that. Ooh, that's an interesting concept. Explain.
Yeah, maybe that's why in Shandora they have a culture of playing the drums of liberation. It was back then. It was actually it would free their souls.
Oh, that's spicy. That's good. I like that. And that's.
I think another interesting aspect is that like. We've talked about Hakuba and how that might be a paralleling of like Emu's possessing of this vessel and whatnot. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Cavendish is royalty of the bourgeois kingdom.
I actually didn't remember that.
And so he has that qualification. So what if Hakuba, what if he's already a flipped piece, but his will is like overpowering at times or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, so this is like an interesting thought piece.
Well, yeah,
here.
Like what if that's come down through the family from a previous flipping? Like, that's why he has personality that becomes a demon.
Yeah. And I have something for you that's interesting. So when Cavendish is introduced, is the same arc that Moncherry is introduced, right? At Tontada. With Shanks, we met, and he's from the bourgeois kingdom, Cavendish. We met Tontana that looks like Moncherry, who is a bourgeois pirate. And when she was introduced, they explained that a lot of the people who follow Shanks is their home place were attacked, and since Shanks had to protect them, and they followed them. What if bourgeois kingdom fell? Because they're both from there, and that's why Shanks has to protect him now. They look like the same. You know, I don't think like they're sisters, but it's just Oda's way of connecting. And Cavendish is introduced at the same arc that she's introduced, which I find interesting. And she's bourgeois pirates, but he's a bourgeois kingdom. So what if his kingdom fell and he was like somewhat connected to royal family?
Yeah, I do think it's interesting because he does have a named blade as well. I don't believe it's a rated Meito blade, but it is a unique weapon called Durandal, which it ties to like a French mythology, right? Like but it's a very, very unique sword in the story, kind of like how people have talked a lot about Shanks's weapon. And I think that you know, there's a lot there potentially for some lineage, like a specific like relevance in the past, right?
Yeah. And the Vice Admiral knew everything about it, of the nature of Cavendish, which was interesting.
Sorry, Mac had a very unfortunate typo.
I've been
seeing Lucas he's muted but laughing at it is crazy.
Oh man, that's very telling.
Thanks, bro. We appreciate the shout out, brother.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the kids were going crazy, so I had to mute up, but that got me.
Yeah,
I was reading chat, and it was like...
So we've talked about a lot of very important figures. We talked about Cavendish and he's royalty.
No,
we've talked about... Brother, are you good?
I'm just gonna delete these two messages real quick in chat.
Okay. We talked about Carrot, we talked about Wapole, we've talked about Vivi, Doflamingo, we've talked about Mancherry, Shirahoshi, Boa, Judge, Ivankov, and Cavendish. We've talked about a lot of people, but we have some heavy hitters that we still need to talk about, boys. And by heavy hitter, I mean none other than the man responsible for the King Punch, capable of knocking down an entire fort, King Elizabello II.
Yes, sir.
He got a right hand on him, I tell you.
Yo, if you give him like the time to hold down the B button, you're getting one shot. Like,
I think he's a major player for sure because he has such strong ties to Luffy.
Yeah.
So I don't. Did I cut out for you guys?
No, I just don't understand what you said. Like,
oh, I said I think he's a major player for sure because he has such strong ties to Luffy.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. Elaborate, please.
What do you mean, elaborate? He helped during the entire like takedown of Dressrosa. Him and Zoro literally teamed up to take down Pika.
Yeah, him and Zoro are buddies.
Yeah, I don't know if he even
so
said
the
a
Straw
word
Hat Pirates. Okay, so the Straw Hat Pirates. Okay, like that's what I'm saying. So, but it makes me wonder if he'll even get flipped.
Lucy.
Yeah, he does know Lucy very well.
He does know Lucy. Yeah, that's true.
Which Lucy is that? That's the question. Which Lucy?
You know, the one.
Both of them.
The one that one in the anyway.
The one with the scar. The one with the scar. Yeah, the one with the scar. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, but
sorry, Lucas. We'll stop.
And I remember.
No, it's okay.
I remember Will had mentioned it. This was probably about 2 weeks ago when we were originally talking about planning this stream, and we hadn't really put too much thought into it. And I remember I was on VC with him, and he came in loud and clear saying King Elizabello, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
that is such an insane. Because like I didn't even think about that. But he is potentially one of the, like, he's, again, I mentioned how Dressrosa is kind of like a hub because it had the Colosseum. This was like a neighboring kingdom to them. It's in the New World. These guys are strong. Like, he was poised to do immensely well in that tournament if it weren't for Lucy, you know. But I think that would be really interesting. And we don't really know how much influence he has, but to be a king in the New World, I think that's a pretty legitimate feat in and of itself.
I mean, he definitely. I do think that he does have some pull because remember when he found out about Vegapunk talking about a kingdom that he knew about, the Lucia. He was saying around getting with the other kings was kind of stuff. He was talking not like he's just a low level king, like he has pulls, connections.
Yeah, and
So,
I looked on the
that.
timeline, and from when it mentioned the King Punch was like however many years ago that it busted a fort or something like that.
Yep.
This would be around Roger's era, and so like when people like Roger and Shiki are making headlines, like how many other individuals did we hear about from that era that were prolific outside of like Rocks and Whitebeard?
Yeah.
Who was the
themselves.
Katakuri of that era? You know what I mean?
But this
Who's
guy made headlines in the middle. No, but like legit, this guy made big waves in the middle of a bunch of other really big figures in their prime. So like that really does say something. Other than like Garp boxing mountains for Don Chinjiao, like we haven't really heard too much else about that era with non-Roger or Rock's pirate members, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or like said Goku.
Or Whitebeard pirate members.
But
even then,
I think it's
like,
really interesting to think about an individual like him. That right arm is an asset, like you said.
So there is another one I want to briefly talk about because I'm so shocked that none of you brought that up. Guys, what if the world government flip Dark Dragon King Momonosuke?
This was on my list, and this would be so
tragic. It'd be
so
tragic, dude.
Horrible because they would just have Kaido too, but bigger. And I'm like, we don't need this. Like, oh my god.
And remember in Wano, it's a bit like now in Elbaf, there was a lot of different mythos as well, stuff like that. Imagine if some of those stuff, like what happens if people like Denjiro, Raizo, Kinemon get turned, the type
Foxfire
of creatures
Kinemon?
they would become. Yeah, like Foxfire,
Yeah,
like he
dude.
would actually become like a real Kitsune, like he would become a real dark Kitsune. Think of Denjiro, Raizo. Think of how Raizo was
there's a lot of
created.
people.
Like it's dangerous, Wano.
There's a lot of people on Wano I do not want to see flipped because there's some powerful people, like the highest floor that we've ever had post time skip, I feel like.
And not only that, but Wano is in terms of like a game is walled in.
Yeah.
Like you would do to an important piece.
Ooh, yeah. Well, we already saw
mean?
Cypher Pull Zero, like the Marys with a Go board there. So like we were mentioning that there's a lot of like parallels and setup for the game aspect already. But yeah, like if like Genjiro and Kawamatsu like got flipped, that would be insane to me because Kawamatsu's my boy and that Kappa style is dangerous. Y'all better watch out. But like Genjiro's got like legit feats. That is a strong individual. And each of the scabbards in their own right, but even outside of that, like Yamato.
Yeah.
Like what if that's how the cover story ties in?
If Yamabro gets flipped, it's over. Like he is too powerful for No. Tanky.
Lucas, there's someone else. Let's say they flip everyone who's right now in Wano, right? Everyone who's current in Wano. There is something or someone or some being sleeping underneath Wano.
Oh,
Otama!
Pluton. Think of Pluton. Imagine if they flip Pluton. We talk of Shiroshi. Imagine Pluton.
Yeah. Well,
what do you say about Pluton?
Especially if it's
Pluton
actually a mole, like Dak says. Like if it's actually a mole and it's a living creature that gets flipped. Ooh, that would be.
Yeah. No, that
would be insane.
I do want to address Otama as well, though, because her whole thing in Wano, like I said, it was like a mini flipping. Like on a smaller board, she was flipping pieces for the ninja mink pirate samurai alliance or whatever they called themselves, and like she had significantly added to their number of pieces on the board by using her ability. And if she were to, and like there's also the phrasing that she wants to grow up and become a bewitching kunoichi, which is like like a witch, like a demon. Like she could actually grow wings. Like that would be horrible. That would be one of the worst case scenarios, because then she would be able to flip a bunch of different, animals and things like that, like pseudo flipping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, this doesn't make me think of.
Means?
Yeah.
That is what
This
He
doesn't
said
make
be
me think of.
switching. Be switching.
Oh,
Yeah,
my God.
like Emu be switching people. Like
The way Dorian Broglie talk about how their power is even stronger. Like, what if it doesn't grant you power? It just, it increases Kaioken style Dragon Ball. What you're able to do it's just much stronger. What if certain abilities like Delphoid abilities like Otama is just becomes more OP? What if Otama himself controlling people who are half animals? What if she could control people who are cursed as well, just like her?
yeah.
Like, what if some of those innate abilities could just
Because of the animal instinct that's like part of the
like,
demon.
because Dorian Broglie says they got even stronger. If Emu doesn't give power, he just increases what he can already do. What if certain people set abilities like imagine Denjiro's style of swordsmanship or Kinemon just becomes at a whole different level because of that. Like instead of Foxfire, it's Hellfire.
Yeah, Emu is just
Sick.
Guru from Dragon Ball, and he's like, "Let me awaken you into potential." Like,
But yeah.
Yeah, I think Wano as an asset is insane, and with Momonosuke still being so young mentally and untrained, like more or less, it makes sense as a piece, and it makes even almost as much sense as Shirahoshi to me, because they're both non-world government affiliated, and like they're just like Elbaf currently, and so they're wanting to flip territories where they could hit a lot of pieces. And this would also cascade into them potentially, most likely, getting an ancient weapon. So I did want to talk about Momo for sure. I think Wano stands a pretty good chance to fight back, though, if I'm being real.
They're the first country we've seen that has the Straw Hat flag that was given to them by Luffy.
Yeah, true. Publicly,
Like it's
they're proud of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, another figure as well. We talk about Momo. One, and he already has a yokai theme. What if Sukiyaki becomes a Tengu?
Ooh.
An actual Tengu, which is a yokai.
Ooh.
And he could be considered like the rightful ruler currently, because Momo's still young mentally. So I could see that.
Yeah.
And he could read poneglyphs. Like that would take a major piece off our board.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's insane to think about.
And I think Momo right now still has issues.
It's like taking out a rook.
Yeah.
Wild. I did have probably like two more major players to talk about if nobody else had any of them.
I had one little topic of conversation. Do you guys think that that's why Whitebeard did not go for it? Do you think he realized that
going for
if he became king
of the pirates?
Yeah. Because he knew if he did, he had the potential to be flipped.
I'll go a bit deeper than that. The fact that for the last 25 years, Big Mom's been trying to connect to Elbaf, and Kaido has been hiding behind Orochi, and they've both had road poneglyphs. Like, that's what I'm wondering. What if that's what the Rocks witnessed in God Valley? And so you have Whitebeard, you have Big Mom not really become a ruler until she connects back to Elbaf, and Kaido hiding behind Orochi, who is the king.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Wild. Yeah, I think that there's also something to be said about Luffy constantly saying, I don't want to be a leader of anything.
Yep.
Like he mentioned, like when the Grand Fleet was formed, like, I don't want that. I'm not your captain. And that's kind of like if somebody were to promote him to king, and like if he were to become pirate king, would he be somebody who would be able to be flipped? And ultimately, I think the answer is no. And that's also kind of feeding into a thought that I've had for a really long while now. And this is just like a little bit of fuel to that fire, is I think that Buggy will be the one who gets the Pirate King title publicly, and he will be flipped. Can you imagine Demon Buggy?
I want Demon Buggy. Then he'll be more like his dad.
Dude.
Bro, but it'd be insane to think about, right? Like Demon Buggy, like making everyone look like Shanks, you know?
No. So let's say Buggy's side gets flipped, right? Buggy made with crossing creates a kingdom, right? And they get flipped. You say Demon Buggy. Imagine Demon Mr. One, Das Bones, Demon Mihawk,
Demon Mihawk,
and Demon Crocodile.
Yes.
Like,
say
just
correctly,
those
Demon
three.
Mahawk.
Mahawk?
Those three
Shut
ones.
Mahawk.
up.
Those three ones. Even Das Bones. You take, dude. If imagine Demon Galdino with his wax abilities.
Yeah, that would actually be intimidating.
That's
But-
wild to think
But
about.
see, I
yeah.
feel like
So,
Galdino
like-
already got flipped, though. I feel like he got flipped by Luffy during Marineford. I feel like everyone involved with Luffy, even Crocodile, got flipped by Luffy during Marineford.
that doesn't mean you can't be flipped again.
Oh,
just
of
because you've
course,
already
of
been
course.
flipped.
But like,
Yeah,
I feel like
Ryan
they
came
have
here,
already
bro.
been
Follow the
flipped. Yeah, I'm just saying, Luffy has been doing the thing, my man. He's
it's
flipping
like-
those
it's like-
pieces too.
It's like a blanket. This whole thing. Anyone could get any blanket could get flipped over, dude.
Yeah.
Just like a blanket.
But the Buggy was
Or
a
a
serious
board
one. I
game,
wanted.
Cube.
It was one of the last two that I was wanting to mention. So it was an interesting segue because I legitimately do think that Luffy will denounce the title. He's like, I don't want to be the leader of shit. This is all for something else. He's already told us his dream. That's just like a part of it. It's not like
Yeah.
all of it, right?
This is just
So
a
if
part
he were to
of it, man.
denounce that title and it were to fall onto Buggy by default, like, and he falls ass backwards into something again, then would he be flippable in that moment? If the flipping was even still a thing by time Luffy gets that title, I don't know. Like it's just a funny what if, but
Yeah.
I could not see Luffy flipping as a king of the pirates. I
Neither.
could definitely see it happening to Buggy.
Yep. Yep.
But I had one
Absolutely.
other. If
I
nobody
think-
else had any,
So I have one thing because I know we're gonna get to those characters soon. I think a group of people have been flipped, and this is why they look like fallen angels. I think that's what happened to Lunarians, but I think Nika saved them. Hence why they believe in Joybo. Because, and I went to look, everything about the Lunarians, the one thing that they cannot use is their wings. The only one that was using his wings was King, who had a flying ancient Zoan. But I went to look the Seraphim, they glide. They can't use their own wings. So I'm wondering if the Lunarians long time ago were flipped, but Joy Boy saved them. Oh,
King may have only been able to use his wings though because of his devil fruit. You know what I mean?
that's what he said.
That's what,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
He
I
has
thought
a
you were
flying-
saying.
he has a
Oh,
flying-
okay.
No, he has a flying
No,
ancient
that's what he
Zoan.
said.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
my
he's
bad.
a
I
flying
thought he
ancient
was saying
Zoan.
the Seraphim couldn't fly and every other Lunarian couldn't fly. But
No, no,
he, I don't know what I don't know how I heard that. I'm so sorry,
Yeah,
brother.
and they
Lock
look
in.
like fallen angels, black wings. So I've said, what if they had tails like demons, but when Joy Boy saved them, they just had the black wings with them that stayed.
Yeah.
He couldn't permanently, he couldn't basically cure them, but he could get them alive where they're free, and thus believing in Joy Boy.
Mhm.
And that's what happened to Nerys.
I think it's a great idea.
And it comes from something that Nak has said months ago, almost a year now. He keeps saying, how could they defeat the Lunarians? If you think about it, like really, like just what they are as a group of people. If they have an army of Lunarians, the Lunarians are gonna win. So this could be something that Nak's been talking months ago about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like just to think of I mean, hold on, I had something and I lost it. Y'all go.
But the
Yeah, go.
Lunarians, it's because they lived at the top of the world too, so it was a prime target, right? Like these are
Boom.
the people we
Yeah.
got to bring down to shift the pendulum, flip the world
Yeah,
upside
and-
down, if you would.
Whitebeard told Marco that they were gods who lived on top of the red line. So like if they were to be like, yeah, it makes sense for them to be flipped if aesthetically they appear as they appear now, you know.
Yeah, totally. Imagine like they had like more angelic white uniforms.
Yeah, that's what I'm
to match
thinking.
the white
And
hair,
then
like
so if he was referring to the time before they're flipping, like that would be really sick actually.
Do you think the pacifistas and the Seraphim can be flipped? They're clones. They're just mechanized.
Now just give him another
This-
order.
Seraphims, yes. My problem with the pacifistas is obviously Kuma, we know why, but all the other ones don't seem to have like any mental capacities. They're just robotic in the insides. And I do feel with Dorian Broggy that there was some sort of like reaction to it. So I do think it's the whole
Oh, wait.
awakening body and mind. Yeah?
Do
Are
we
you talking about
think?
the pacifistas or the seraphim?
Pacifist. He asked for both.
Oh yeah.
I
was
just
gonna
said
say the
Seraphim's
seraphim have
possible.
some personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think you need to have something in the mind. And pacifistas is blank.
Before we get into like the last one that Vex has, I have to ask too, do we think any of the higher ranking Marines could be considered it? Like the fleet admiral and the admirals?
No.
No?
It's not a kingdom.
I don't think
It's
they
not
need
kingdom, but
flipping.
they have control and order.
Dangerous.
Yeah, but I don't think they
but,
need
like,
flipping is another thing.
You don't think?
Yeah, and I
you think
the
all of them
flipping
have
is
been
kinda
flipped?
Scary.
No, I
don't.
just think that
they were
they're-
just convinced.
They fall
that
in
it worked
line.
for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
a physical, like,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't need to be the power itself. It's just
Yeah,
actual communication.
of course. Yeah.
But
I mean,
The one that I was
I'm gonna be
gonna talk
honest with
about-
you. If they
Okay,
had that, if it was, I do feel like there's something with Cypherpole and the Marines. It's just different. It's not the same thing we're seeing with the Kings. It's a different thing because if it's the same flipping as the Kings, don't you think that Garp and Fujitora would be the first people to be flipped?
Like I said, I
Like,
think
they're
it's
a risk.
it
They're a
could
risk.
be how I was perceiving the one with Wapple that I said earlier, where it's not necessarily a physical flipping; it's a flipping of mentality almost over actually
yeah.
becoming a demon or Nika-like. Which I do think some people will be flipped and become Nika-like as well. I do want to officially state that because we saw it with Bonnie.
Well, they, like, in essence, yes. Emu flipped 20 people to his side 800 years ago to take down the
Mhm.
ancient kingdom. You know what I mean? So there was
Yeah.
a flipping of of goals, but
Mhm.
in terms of like flipping a character, I think anybody public. This is why it happened on Elbaf. Elbaf isn't really seen by normal people. This is why it could be a great one on Wano, or a great one on, you know, Zhao, because this would be contained. It'd be like an army the public would never see of demons. Like if people seen demons,
Yeah.
they are not gonna be like, oh, my saviors.
Yeah.
I think
Wow,
the
angels.
possibly the absolute best placement for something like that, this unseen army, is a place where people think that it's already full of demons.
Yeah.
Which would be Hachinosu. The kingdom of Hachinosu, if he were to be like formally recognized as the king. Blackbeard would be, and again, as somebody who Emu's very interested in, that is
Yep.
possibly the strongest individual piece aside from Luffy himself, who I'm assuming can't be flipped at this point.
Yeah.
But Blackbeard would be insane if he were to be made a king. I could see him also facilitating maybe some sort of Faustian role where he gains the power and kind of flips the contract on Emu to become the ultimate big bad, or maybe he is. I do think
That's the
that
third
Blackbeard
devil
is
fruit.
probably gonna be the final villain, and I think that Emu is somebody who's set up to be the biggest of bads, but maybe Blackbeard is the one who assimilates them in somehow or something. I don't know, it'd be sick.
Mm-hmm.
But if Emu goes in thinking they're gonna be able to flip Blackbeard, but he like promotes himself or something, I don't. It's really
He's been
interesting.
waiting for it or something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I'm gonna say
This
this.
is
This is like all
gold
part
the
of his
whole time.
plan.
Yeah.
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 I'm gonna say this, and Vex, you know what? Take advantage of this moment. In Thriller Bar,
Okay.
the whole Moria being inside Ors and controlling Ors from the inside, I could see something
Yeah.
with Emo and Blackbeard. Like that could be like
For
endgame
sure.
thing, you know? Because that was like a crazy thing they did together. So if Emu's gonna do one character, I could see it with Blackbeard.
For sure. And so I thought this would be the most interesting individual. And
Limu.
we have to understand that Timu,
Sorry.
it's Teach and Emu.
Yeah.
Emu.
Let's go.
Emu.
That's
Timu. So
funny.
wait, Blackbeard's your
But,
most interesting?
I really do think he is the strongest individual piece outside of an ancient weapon. Like Momonosuke could get you to an ancient weapon, but Wano would put up a really, really, really big fight.
I think.
And then Shirahoshi is an ancient weapon, but
Yeah.
again, you're fighting an uphill battle. Like it feels like against the entire Sea King or like force. Like if she's able to do that, but with Blackbeard, he is willing and cooperative to get this done. There's zero casualty. It's just a free buy for you, right? It is what it appears to be. So I think that realistically, Emu would probably jump at that opportunity, right?
Yeah, of course. No, I had another choice that I didn't talk about because I thought we came to the same conclusion, and it wasn't Blackbeard.
I just really do think that ultimately, with the power of the Gura, the power of the Yami, and with his crew, how he currently has it, Timu would be the true ultimate big bad. And it would be somebody who I think it would make a lot of sense for the world to then unify against.
Yeah,
because I don't think that Luffy alone is just gonna punch that. You know what I mean? Like,
I think my pick was gonna be Stelly. I'm dead serious. I think Stelly is going to be an integral part.
You mean the guy on the thumbnail?
Yes, I think Stelly. I think Stelly is going to be Emu's next body, and I'm dead serious.
I could see it. No, I love the meme, but it's like legit beyond just a meme because he has seen the empty throne.
Yeah,
he has been in the chamber. And he was like licking his lips. He was like,
that's mine. So he's willing, if Emu gets mortally damaged, he's willing to let Emu become him. You know what I mean? Oh, I get to be the king.
Not even that.
And then we
all know.
But then we get Staloo.
And we all know one fact that we're sure of. The king of Goa Kingdom did not unalive on no natural causes. Stelly was definitely involved in it, in his rise to power. So I could see
Dad has a claw!
Boom, boom, boom. Would it be Emelly? Like emus? Like, no, I'm kidding. It's really interesting to see. So,
go ahead.
What we do know about the Goa Kingdom, though, is that they had kind of a sorbet situation with Grey Terminal and the South Side, like where they were like, let's just burn it with fire. But aside from that, we don't know too much about that. We know that Windmill Village is somewhere else on Dawn Island, but like or like Fuchsia Village and Windmill Island or something like that. But like the thing is
Dawn Island
or west. Yeah, it's the east.
Yeah,
the east side. Yeah.
But we don't know too much else about it other than Dragon is confirmed from there.
Yeah.
And Garp and Luffy.
Well, 3
of the strongest individuals across separate factions in the waking verse today. They're all from that kingdom. That's crazy to think about.
And there was definitely something because the way Mayor Whoopslap, who's from Garp's era, keeps hushing the Pacific Kainu, I despise pirates. But never left his homeland. So there's definitely something.
Well, I think too, like if Emu does take Stelly's body, like it'll be, now I control the Dawn. I control Dawn Island. Because maybe Dawn Island does play a significant role in whatever Luffy has to do. Who knows?
Think about it.
Maybe it's an important piece to control before the cycle starts again or something like that. Like there's a lot of aspects that could play into it.
Well, if you flip Dawn, you get Dusk.
That's true. No, you get Nobbed.
Where's Kuso?
Okay.
Oh my god, yes!
Also, if you think about it, imagine this is going to be a plot twist with Emu. If Emu finds out Luffy's big weakness, right? What if Emu turns the people of Dawn Island, right? Especially Windmill Village, into those creatures, would Luffy be able to hit those people? Baby. Like, Luffy cannot hit people that he considers almost family. I don't think he would be able to attack anyone that is from the Windmill Village. So that could be a big move from Emu.
I'm sorry. Lucas is mind blown at his own words right now.
Yeah.
I am. Check the chat.
Just think about this, guys. If they turn the people of Windmill Village, Luffy might not even be able to fight against them because of how he is. He would refuse to fight them.
I think Sabo would fight him.
Sabo would be like, I got this.
Sabo's on demon time.
He cracks his neck. He's like, oh man.
Here we go again. Beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't really have any others that I thought we needed to talk about. I think we covered a lot of the very interesting royal figures.
There's actually
if Neptune flips, he doesn't turn evil. He literally just reverses the merman thing.
Yeah, Nami style.
He gains legs and becomes a fish up top with a beard.
So Lucas brought that up at one point, but I didn't want to derail it. But you talk about how if the Buccaneers at one point, which I think is something of Lunarians, they could have been flipped and Joy Boy did something. But there's something that's interesting. I'm wondering if the lineage of Kuma, Kaido, and Big Mom could be connected to that long time ago, and that's why they're described to be born different. Because they're described to be just natural forces, something that's not normal. It's out of the realm of possibilities. Why they come from a lineage similar to with the Onis, where they're no more pure anymore. Just a food for thought. I want to add that before, but didn't want to.
Yeah. So does anyone else have any more royals we think are getting flipped? Maybe from the Luffy side of things? You think there's any baddies out there that... No, wait. Let me rephrase that. Any bad rulers out there that Luffy's going to flip?
I think he's been doing it every step of the way.
Yeah.
Like you said with Wapple, like that's the perfect example. Maybe Doffy, if he gets flipped, he turns good. like we were saying earlier. But maybe even with Crocodile.
Yeah, I think Crocodile has already started flipping if he isn't completely flipped, like mindset wise, completely. And I think that whatever's going to go down with Crossguild may flip him the rest of the way, because I don't think Buggy represents black whatsoever. I think he represents the white side of the board.
I would say Buggy is the middle part. Blackbeard is the black, Luffy's white.
It's all
and
black
Buggy's
and
gray.
white, brother. There's no gray. You know what I mean? Like you have to think of it in those terms.
I don't think that's true, though.
I
this conversation,
I think you got to think about it.
No,
Buggy's
because there's
anatomy.
people who are influenced by Nika and people who are influenced by Emu, and
Buggy.
then there's just normal people.
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
just normal people who don't
Those are
exist.
like they're like
those
blank
two
players, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you know
So
what I mean?
it's not
swayed
all
yet.
just black and white. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
They're a part of the anatomy.
Hmm.
And they are gray.
Yeah. But, you know, like the gray anatomy, the Buggy's anatomy.
Ooh, Godfall's actually a good one, Will. If Gonfall got flipped,
I think Enel would be one who would be interesting as well, because he calls himself a God King, and if he's God King of the Moon and they just take control of that,
they got the moon, man.
Dude, imagine
well,
if
the
it
whole
was flipped.
the whole Automata army as
Yeah.
well. You know what I mean? Like,
Dude, and now would flip, he would go from God to rap God. Dude, that would be crazy.
He's beginning to feel like a rap god, and goes light and fast.
I can't stand it here. Oh my god!
with
So
that,
I think we're done.
Yeah, are we
I'm
ready to-
setting up an appointment with my therapist after this? Appreciate it.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, we do love you all. Thank you again for joining us for another one of our chiller streams. We appreciate all of you for watching today. We love you guys. Keep the conversation going though, and if you're not already, make sure you join the Discord. We just reset it up and it's looking nicer than ever. So pop in there, join the conversation on the other side of this, and maybe get mentioned on stream. Yeah. We love shouting out our community, like the Will of Dreams, SSJ8 Cody, the amazing content creators and friends who make up this whole wonderful thing. Yeah, so from us, Knack, why don't you take us out, brother?
I was in the middle of yawning. See y'all at the next sunrise.
That's why I chose him.
Bye.
Bye.